Todd Starnes Show begins in 1 minute.
Live from the Liberty University studio in Memphis, Tennessee, it's America's favorite gun-toting, Bible-clinging, deplorable American.
That's us. That's right. I love this American ride.
Todd Starnes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you guys did it again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Todd Starnes radio program. Great to have you with us. We really do have the best. I'm not sure what happened to the music there. My apologies. We really do have the best audience in all of talk radio. I mean, it really is. You guys are just a tremendous audience, and whenever there is an issue or something of that nature, you always jump into action, and that's where I want to start off today. Yesterday, we told you about a situation in of all places, Tennessee, not too terribly far from where we broadcast our national radio program, involving a veterans home, a state veterans home. And we got some intel that this state veterans home, they were having some big problems. Over 100, I think around 140 elderly veterans live at this home. And the air conditioning had gone out. We're in the middle of a pretty nasty heat wave here. It's hotter than blue blazes. And the air conditioning had been out. Now, the state told us that the air had only been out for about 24 hours. That was about it. But we got intel from family members and even some staff members that the situation was a lot worse. As a matter of fact, the air conditioning had been out since Sunday, and nobody was doing anything about it. It was not a priority to make sure these men and women who wore the uniform of our nation were able to, spend their final days in peace and comfort. And instead, many of them were literally sweltering in their beds. We got reports that it was so bad. It was so bad that they were having to change the sheets and the bedding because of the water, of just the sweat and the humidity. So anyway, as soon as we found out about it, I immediately reached out to Congressman David Kustoff, who represents that particular area in Congress. And I said, Congressman, here's the intel we're getting. Can you help these people out? And really within 10 minutes, the congressman had activated his Rolodex. He was reaching out to state lawmakers, emergency management officials, the county mayor, he was reaching out to everybody, and got a text message back from the congressman saying, we are on top of this, and we're going to take care of this. And then a couple of hours later, got a message saying that the air conditioning had been repaired and that AC had been restored. Now, we do a lot on this program. We take lawmakers to task all the time on this radio program, and all of it is well-deserved. We don't target anybody who doesn't deserve to be targeted. And we only want these lawmakers we want them to do what they promised they were going to do when they were out on the campaign trail. Now, I want to tell you about Congressman David Kustoff for a minute, a man who I consider to be a friend, and also he happens to be my congressman. He represents the district that I live in. And you see him on TV every now and again. He's not an Andy Ogles guy. He's not a Jim Jordan guy, kind of a guy. He's not, he's not bombastic. He's a workhorse. And this guy is back in the district every single weekend, and it is a massive, I think it's 16 counties, massive district. And he's out there, and he's going to the festivals, holding the town halls, helping to welcome new businesses, and when necessary, make sure that our veterans have working air conditioning. So I think it says a lot about this guy, Congressman David Kostoff, that he would stop whatever he was doing and immediately take care of his constituents. I respect that. There are a lot of people up on Capitol Hill, you call their office, guess what? You're going to get a voicemail. You're not even going to talk to a human being. So, Congressman, thank you so very much for living up to your campaign promises and being out there. And he's one of the good guys. And he's one of the guys that just works. I'll tell you another guy, Congressman Ron Estes out of Kansas, represents the Wichita area. Same sort of a mindset. You're just a hardworking person. You went to Congress to take care of your people back in your home state, your home district. And I just have great respect for that. So anyway, people were throwing accolades our way. No, we just made calls and we broadcast. But all that to say, and here's where you guys come into this. You guys picked up the phones, and I mean, you helped make a difference, letting people know what was going on. So I just can't thank you enough, and we certainly are appreciative of the work of the local lawmakers as well. Our good buddy from Jackson, Tennessee, Frankie Lax, who alerted us to all of this, and we're just happy to do our part, which is, telling you guys about it. And then you guys, you took on the charge. So all that to say, well done. Welcome to the program. We've got a jam-packed show for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, following these developments over in Iran, Carl Higbee at Newsmax really cut to the chase and said what I think many people are wondering: why don't we just go ahead and nuke Iran? I mean, what are we waiting on here? Well, I don't think we're going to nuke Iran. I don't know. But apparently things are starting to ramp up a little bit. Now China says they're going to be providing Iran with weapons to, again, target American interest and our allies in the region. It's a mess over there. It really is. I don't see this ending anytime soon. And for better, for worse, that's just the reality of it. And I think you guys deserve at least one talk radio program that's just going to shoot straight with you. And I wish that we had, and again, I think that we have been at war with Iran since 1979, and I think we should have handled the problem in 1979. We didn't do that. And every single president from Ronald Reagan on just kicked that can down the road. And Trump got to a point where he said we can't kick it down the road anymore. There's no more road left, and we can't allow the Iranians to get nukes. And using that mindset, okay, I get it. I mean, if you're telling me, and the president has better access to, to the data than I do, the intel, right? I mean, he's not going to steer us down a bad path here. So whatever they gave Trump, it was bad enough for him to say, yeah, we're going to have to go in and we've got to stop this. Now, I just want to say something right out of the gate here. I don't want to see a nuclear cloud over an American city. I really don't. Even New York City. I don't want our country to have to endure something like that. And I don't think you do either. So whatever data was given to Trump, it was so concerning that the president said, we're going to have to go in. And I know it was a difficult decision to make for this president because he is not a war hawk. So the president made the decision. There's a report out there that there's a lot of back and forth, and there's just a lot of there's not a lot of agreement right now in the administration on what to do now. There is a lot of internal strife. There had been reporting out there. The White House has denied this, but and the headline from Mediaite, and I'll just share this with you: Trump exasperated as his top officials at odds over Iran war strategy. According to NBC News, and that's what Mediaite's basing their reporting on, President Trump is increasingly exasperated as the war stretches into its 6th month. Remember, it was supposed to be over, maximum 6 weeks, 6 months now. NBC News reporting exclusively that the president recently erupted at top national security officials amid deep divisions inside his administration over how to proceed. The report, citing a U.S. official and people familiar with the discussions, paint a picture of a divided White House. As one U.S. official put it, after all this time, there is no unity. NBC News reports that Trump exploded during a meeting with top national security officials last week over a lack of progress in Iran, yelling explicatives. The report says administration officials remain divided over whether the priority should be stopping Iran's nuclear program, protecting shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, or degrading Tehran's missile and drone arsenal. Now, I want to stop right there for a moment. Very rarely do I believe the authenticity of these reports coming out of the mainstream media, and especially when they're using unnamed sources. However, I'm willing to give this story a little bit of credence. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. And here's the reason why. That makes sense, because it tells me that the president's own team is not on board with whatever the plan is. And that's why we've seen it's almost like we're hitting the gas and then slamming on the brakes, right? We bomb Iran. Boom, ceasefire. Boom, we hit the gas, ceasefire again. Boom, ceasefire. Boom, ceasefire. Then we have this memorandum of understanding that J.D. Vance came up with, the vice president, and I'm not quite sure the Iranians understand the memo of understanding. But there's another part of this that caught my attention, and it was the line about what is the priority. Well, my understanding was, and folks, correct me if I'm wrong here, my understanding was the only reason we were going in was to stop Iran's nuclear program. That was it, right? Regime change was not on the table. The protecting the shipping through the Strait of Hormuz was not on the table, and the degrading of the missile and drone arsenal, that was not on the table. It was always all about the nuclear program. But going back to April the 8th, the Pentagon told us they had not just degraded, but they had destroyed Iran's missile and drone arsenal, which we now know was either not accurate at the time, or it was accurate, but because of all the ceasefires, they were able to rebuild or at least restock whatever missiles and drones they needed, which would imply that either Russia or China would be helping Iran here. And that makes more sense when you realize that Iran has been very precise in their targeting of military troops and bases in the Middle East. That would infer that, and we have to infer, that China or Russia is leaking that information or giving that information to the Iranians. But again, what is the whole point of this? I don't think anybody knows. And that's why I think there is some credibility to this report. The same official warned the administration has had a series of tactical victories, but is facing a strategic defeat without any clear policy guidance or a decision about where this is going. Let me ask you a question here. Where do you think all of this is going? I mean, you're looking at what we're doing over there. We're bombing a lot of stuff. We're blowing up a lot of stuff. But what do you think I'm genuinely asking you, what do you think this is really all about? Where is all of this going? Another person close to Trump telling NBC News the president has become increasingly discouraged by Iran's refusal to strike a deal. The president is exasperated One ally said, I don't think he believed it was going to be this difficult to get the Iranians to agree to a deal. There was not a real strategy for how long or what they should do to get to that point. He did not intend this to be a long, drawn-out war. Now, the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, came out and said this is all false. The president has a great team whom he trusts, and everyone on the team knows he's the final decision maker. She said he's not going to stand by as they break the MOU, kill our soldiers. Let me stop there. The fact that you're saying this proves we have no MOU. And I'm not sure you can negotiate with the Iranians. They want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, and they want to wipe us off the face of the earth. They still believe that. So how can you negotiate in good faith with people who want to destroy you? How do you do that? And I think that's, again, one of the challenges the White House is facing here. And it's very possible that the Iranians, they don't want to look, and you wonder if Trump or his team came to them and said, hey, look, if you guys in your nuclear program and you do all these things, we're going to turn Tehran into a destination like Dubai. The reality is the people who control Tehran, they don't want Dubai. They don't want Tehran to become the Paris of the Middle East again. No, they want death to America. They want death to Israel. That's what those people want. And you can't negotiate with those people. So back to Carl Higby's point, why don't we just, cut to the chase and nuke them? It's a fair thought, but even then, what happens? What happens at that point? So this is going to go on for a while, I'm afraid. I hope it does not impact the midterm elections. I support the president, but the president's team, they've got to get on board here. And we knew going into all of this that there were divisions within the team. You had those who wanted to do diplomacy, and you had others who wanted to blow Iran back to the Stone Age. 901-260-5926. That is our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. This is the Todd Starnes Show.
It's Radio Free America. It's the
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Todd Stearns radio show. And the military, there have been some reporting that the military was having some shortages, some issues with supplies there in the Middle East. This is the headline from the New York Post. The U.S. military must race to rebuild its supply of munitions, mainly because we gave most of them away to the Iranians, for crying out loud, or rather the Ukrainians, for crying out loud. So anyway, that is a big problem now. You've got the war in Ukraine, the war in the Middle East, and the quantity of munitions has now become an issue that the Pentagon is addressing. This, by the way, from the New York Post, an op-ed written by Bradley Bowman and Mark Montgomery. So, by the way, one of them is a retired rear admiral, both senior directors at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, and they lead up the air and missile defense program. So that in and of itself could also be a challenge for the nation, for the United States, if we are running short of supplies. And clearly, a lot of people thought this war really was going to last, 4 to 5 weeks, and that's just not the case. What do you recommend the president do, ladies and gentlemen? Do we just do a shock and awe, drop a nuke, and be done with it? Or do we negotiate, or do we just keep the back and forth going for, an eternity? 901-260-5926, our number. This is the Todd Stearns Show. goes into a dentist office, and she's dragging her kids along. I guess the kids had a dentist appointment or something. Cavities, braces, I don't know. That's irrelevant. So anyway, she's sitting down, and she sees in this, and I'm presuming here the dentist is a Christian because he has copies of the Bible in the waiting room. And I want you to, well, before we get to that, Parker, I don't know if you've been to the dentist, but it's an unnerving thing for me.
It's not the easiest thing in the world.
I would rather have open heart surgery again than have somebody, pulling or yanking or doing something, inside my mouth.
Now, I don't know if I would go that far, but when I go, I have to have the gas that makes you a little loopy to where it's just like you kind of don't think about it.
The drugs.
Yeah.
Got to get
powerful stuff.
You got to have the drugs.
Absolutely.
So I would actually I would be comforted knowing that there was, God's word very close by in the dentist office.
100%.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. So anyway, this woman, and we've got the video on ToddStarnes.com. You have to watch the video. But she's a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Mannish in her hairstyle.
I would agree with that.
Is that appropriate? Is Helen, she's a woman. She probably could give us better guidance. The hairstyle is more of a manly hairstyle.
It definitely is.
Right? That's what I was thinking. So she's got this clearly bleached blonde hair. And she's got this little, what is it, a faux hawk, really? I mean, it's not like a big mohawk. Or she's just basically, what little hair is there, she's sort of shaped it into a point.
It's really unique.
It's unusual. So, but, and Helen, again, this is not a typical lady-like haircut. I don't want to say the woman's manly, but, she's man-ish.
Todd, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but in middle school I had half my head shaved, so I'm not the best person to ask.
Okay, really?
Take away the microphone.
Yeah, take away the microphone. Jeez, Lou. So anyway, this woman is ranting and raving. So she had just left the dentist office, and she's enraged because there are Bibles in the dentist office. Take a listen.
So I just went to take my kids to a new dentist, and I walk in and see Bibles on the tables everywhere. And I go to the reception counter and say, hey, what's with all the Bibles everywhere? And they said, oh, they're just there. Da, da, da. And I said, I need to cancel my appointment. I'm not playing games anymore. This is not a Christian nation. You don't need to have Bibles out everywhere in your office. Or you can, and I won't patronize it. So don't tell me that queer people are trying to shove their agenda down people's throats when everywhere I go, there's Bibles around, there's people let me pray for you. Don't give me that. I'm done.
Oh, my. Wow. Talk about a potty mouth. She does need the dentist and a bar of soap, ma'am. So I think maybe, is she saying that she's queer? Is that the whole point? Because that sort of came out of nowhere. But maybe, I guess it makes sense.
I guess.
It's all very odd. So let me make sure I understand this correctly, Parker. She's willing for the teeth of her children to rot out of their mouths because she got triggered by the Bible.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're following the... Can you imagine the poor kids? They're in 10th, 11th grade. They got no teeth. And they're asking, the classmates are like, wow, you're only 15 or 16. Why is it that you don't have any teeth? My mom, got triggered by the Bible. They have to talk to that guy that they got no teeth. And you're like, I'm sorry, what? My mom got triggered by the Bible.
They might need dentures when they're in high school.
It's bad when you get like Efferdent for Christmas. That's not good. Not that funny. No, I think it's pretty funny. But you would have to listen very carefully. So I feel bad for the kids because they are going to suffer. They're going to have bad teeth because mommy gets triggered by the Bible. And we don't know if she's a mommy or if she, purchased the kids, on a down payment. We don't know. But she's got kids. And she may or may not be queer. But again, what does this have to do with anything? I hate to break it to the lady, but the reality is this. In America, it is a free country. Now, I personally believe America is a Christian nation, so I would disagree with the lady there. But the fact of the matter is that dentist has a private practice. He owns the building. He owns the business. And if he wanted to put copies of Playboy magazine out in the front lobby, he would be well within his rights to do that, protected rights under the United States Constitution. And I'm just telling you, I don't know what's worse, to be honest with you. Is it getting a root canal, or is it having to sit next to some sort of a liberal queer chick with a faux hawk in the dentist office? I mean, at least with the root canal, they're giving you drugs. So there you go. All right. 901-260-5926, our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. So Mayor Zoran Mamdani is making headlines again. The mayor announcing that he's opening up these city-run grocery stores paid for with your tax dollars, and every item is going to be about 30% less than what you would purchase at, say, Kroger or a Super Low or, I don't know, Piggly Wiggly. Do they still have Winn-Dixies? I don't know. Or a Winn-Dixie if they've got them. We'll throw Publix into. Anyway, it doesn't matter. 30%. So the city is always going to undercut the privately owned grocery stores in New York City. You've got Joanne Ariola, who is a New York City councilwoman, and she was on Fox Business the other day explaining why this is such a bad idea. Take a listen.
Was to show that $70 million for 5 stores, one in each borough, you could buy 1 million Costco memberships for less. And it just shows you how ineffective and how much of an overspend it is for 5 grocery stores that we know are going to fail. In Kansas City, Missouri, back in 2018, they opened up a store just like La Marqueta, and it closed because it couldn't keep its shelves stocked. There was mass shoplifting. The produce was sour. It was not of good quality, and it closed down after I think the end result was they invested $29 million. Why are we following a failed model? Because this is a political showcase for Mayor Mamdani to really feed his base.
We've been talking all morning about why we don't have Walmarts in New York City, because they're not allowed to operate here. But if they were, Mamdani could have no cost to taxpayer, low-priced groceries in our city instead of spending $70 million on subsidized grocery stores. That's not going to work. Why don't we have a Walmart here?
Exactly. And why aren't we maybe extending food benefits that were already in place, or giving money to our community-based organizations that run food pantries? They would certainly love the extra money, and they're already doing the job. 5 stores, 1 in each borough, is not going to stop the affordability crisis nor the food insecurity crisis. But what it will do is take whatever savings they're getting at the cashier that's going to just fall onto the middle-class taxpayer.
Yeah, and not only that, and we had Liz speak on yesterday talking about this as well, and she brought up a great point. I didn't even think about this, but back if you live in New York City, you're doing a lot of your grocery shopping actually at these bodegas, which are basically the local neighborhood stores. Much like if you're in Jersey, a Wawa or a 7-Eleven or something like that. So they have these, and they're all family-owned bodegas, and everybody's barely keeping their heads above water because it's so expensive to run a business in New York City. Those people are going to be especially impacted by all of this. But the broader story, and you have to look at what happened over the weekend in Chicago. We have the story at toddsterns.com, and I would urge you to go to our website and read the story about what happened in Chicago, where you had seven subsidized, and these are subsidized with your tax dollars, subsidized grocery stores that shut down in Chicago. And a lot of people are saying, hey, look, this is going to happen in New York City. Kansas City had the same problem. They only had 1 grocery store. They could never keep the thing stocked, and it's a mess. So what's going to happen? Well, the problem now is you've got food deserts in 7 neighborhoods in Chicago as a result of all of this. And another part of it, and this is really on the businesses as well, is that they're not telling you the real reason, one of the real reasons why they're having to shut down these businesses, and it has to do with crime. These predominantly Democrat neighborhoods, crime is off the charts. Shoplifting is off the charts. And a lot of these stores are suffering and are having to shut down because they just can't afford to stay open. Socialism does not work, and it has been proven over and over and over again. And the folks in New York City, you guys are going to discover the exact same problem as Mamdani takes your tax money and buys up these grocery stores. All right, 901-260-5926. That is our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. You know, I've got to tell you, this segment of the program brought to you by our friends at Newsmax. By the way, today, my last Newsmax show, and then we become a contributor. So I'm still going to hang out with them. But I got to get some rest. The TV stuff kills me. I mean, it takes hours to make my face look this good. You know, I could be doing other things during that time. So it's been a lot of fun, and we have greatly appreciated the opportunities. But today, ramping it up and looking very much forward to getting my afternoons back. Meanwhile, let me tell you about what's happening at Newsmax. Millions of Americans are making the switch. They're watching shows like Greta, Carl Higbie, Rob Schmidt, Rob Finnerty. If you're tired of big media, start watching Newsmax, free to start. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com for immediate access. You're going to get all of President Trump's most important events live, including great documentaries from Mike Huckabee to Melania Trump and Clint Eastwood. Once you start Newsmax Plus, you will not stop. Try it for free. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com, then download the app. That's NewsmaxPlus.com.
About to back up and bring it.
Got the video. You got to go back to the website, toddsterns.com. Watch the video of the crazy lunatic queer chick at the dentist office. Just bizarre what they're what they're up to over there. By the way, coming up a little bit later, we're going to be talking to Kyle Campbell about this California lifeguard. Have you heard this story? Been following this story? A 16-year-old lifeguard and rescued a 10-year-old on Saturday. This is over in California. And the lifeguard is now speaking out. Just a good kid. Ryder Williams is his name. And he made the rescue on Santa Cruz Beach on Saturday. And now he's sort of become like a national celebrity. So the California State Parks put out a statement on the young man's behalf. He says, I was at the water line about 15 yards from Tower 2, making a safety contact when I looked up and saw a child about 20 yards from the tower, and he lost his footing in ankle-deep water. So then the guy radioed in and threw his radio and sunglasses at the base of the tower and jumped in and pulled the kid out. And the waves were pretty ferocious, and the water was pretty violent. So bystanders also jumped in to help, and the lifeguard yelled at them to get back to shore. I mean, the wherewithal of this 16-year-old kid is pretty impressive. So now what? President Trump is weighing in. There's talk about giving this kid a medal at the White House. So good on this young man. He jumped in and did what a 16-year-old lifeguard was supposed to do, which is save lives, even if it means putting his own life in danger. So just a good kid. The 10-year-old boy was identified by TV station KTVU as named Nathaniel. His father praised the 16-year-old's efforts. He says it was remarkable to bring him back to shore. I mean, Ryder fought the sea, and he really did. By the way, it turns out the little boy, and when you watch the videos, the videos at toddsterns.com, the kid's unconscious, the little 10-year-old. And he was limp, even though he weighed about 100 pounds. That's dead weight. And this 16-year-old just, man, by God's grace, what a terrific story. What a terrific story. It reminds me of the great Ronald Reagan, who was a lifeguard when he was a boy growing up in Illinois. And Reagan saved many, many, many lives, and he kept track of all of them throughout his career. And he was quite the lifeguard. Hold on just one moment here. Reagan actually also, there's a story when he was governor. That's what I was checking to see. When he was governor, they were at some sort of a highfalutin fundraiser. They had a huge swimming pool there, and apparently a child during the event fell into the pool. Ronald Reagan, in his suit, jumps into the pool and saves the child from drowning. According to the Reagan Library, Reagan saved 77 lives as a lifeguard. And one of the funny stories, I was reading a paper about this, and one of the funny stories about being a lifeguard, Reagan was a pretty good-looking guy. I mean, he was a Hollywood movies. He eventually became a Hollywood movie star, but Parker. He kind of had good looks. He was not unpleasant to look at. And the girls loved him. And the story goes that Reagan saved many young ladies from drowning when, in fact, those young ladies knew how to swim. But they would pretend, they would fake it, hoping that Reagan would jump in and pull them out of the water and, I don't know, give a mouth-to-mouth or something.
There's a very similar scene in The Sandlot. If you've seen that movie, where it's a bunch of little boys playing baseball, and one of them does the same thing to one of the female lifeguards and actually gets her to perform mouth to mouth.
Is that right?
It's hilarious.
Well, they may have gotten that from Ronald Reagan.
That's quite the story.
Back in the 1930s. Oh, geez, Lou. Anyway, great. It's a great Reagan story. But good on this young man, Ryder Williams, 16 years old from California, and he's becoming a celebrity. Ladies and gentlemen, August 11th, the Golden Age is going to be in bookstores around the nation. You can go to your bookstore and buy a copy in person, or you can pre-order a copy and have it delivered directly to your home. Now, those of you in the Memphis area, if you're listening to us on KWAM or one of our stations in the Mid-South, we have several others that carry this show. You are cordially invited to our big book launch party. That's next Tuesday, August 4th. You're going to get an advance copy of the book, and you're also going to be able to meet our entire team. We're going to be there. If you would like information on attending, it's free of charge. We just need to know who you are. So if you would like to join us as our VIP guest for the big book launch, give us a call. It is that simple. 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. We would love to have you with us on Tuesday at 6:30 at JoJo's Espresso for the big book launch party. And again, if you would like VIP info, which is free of charge, give us a call, 901-260-5926. Got to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Todd Starnes Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Todd Stearns radio program. Happy to have you with us today. Hour 2 of the big show. By the way, toddstearns.com. Be sure to check out our website. We have all sorts of great new videos and stories for you to peruse throughout the day. And also, you can pre-order a copy of my brand new book in stores August 11th, The Golden Age, How Trump Saved America. Well, there is no doubt a lot of controversy out there on the campaign trail and a lot of shenanigans as well. One of the people that's coming under ferocious attack happens to be Congressman Andy Ogles from Tennessee. He is running in the 5th Congressional District race, and he is facing stiff opposition, not from Tennesseans, but from Californians, and specifically billionaires from the San Francisco Bay Area. Well, I want to bring into the conversation Patrick Parsons with the Freedom Caucus Fund. Patrick, good to have you with us today.
Good to be with you, Todd.
Patrick, what's going on here, and why do San Francisco billionaires care about Tennessee's 5th Congressional District?
Well, you probably remember during the Biden years, there were hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars being sloshed around from Biden's people in Washington, and we refer to it as the Green New Scam. Well, the members of the House Freedom Caucus and Congressman Ogles, who's coming under fire in Tennessee's 5th, they worked late into the night during the big, beautiful bill negotiations to strip out all funding of the Green New Scam. So now you have this San Francisco billionaire named Chris Larson, who spent $12 million for Kamala Harris, is spending $2 million against Andy Ogles in the Republican primary to try to take him out.
This is really shocking and quite frankly disgusting. The Super PAC and Axios has done a sort of a deep dive on all of this. They've invested millions of dollars to target Andy Ogles, and my understanding is they're putting $700,000 behind Andy Ogles' Republican primary challenger. Is that true?
Yeah, exactly right. And that's on top of the 1.3 million they've already spent. So they're up to 2 million. Ogles' primary challenger is a go along, get along guy who has not denounced millions of big green scam San Francisco Democrat money coming in. And yeah, it's a tight race. President Trump has endorsed Andy Ogles. He's one of the most conservative members of Congress in Washington. And quite frankly, he fights the Democrats. And I'm not so sure the other guy would ever do that.
Well, that's a fair point you make. As a matter of fact, the president hosting a tele-rally for the congressman this week. So clearly the president's made his pick, and he believes that Andy Ogles is the best, is the best guy for the job. It's just really shocking that it just seems to me as a Republican, if you've got an R behind your name, you need to be supporting your party, and yet Charlie Hatcher, I have to imagine, he's got no problem with this money coming out of California if it's going to take out Ogles.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think he knew it was going to happen. I saw an interview with him before the big California billionaires started spending money, and Hatcher said, "I'm going to play Mr. Nice Guy." And I think some other people might go negative, but I'm not going to. Well, cute trick. The Nashville establishment mafia as well probably knew all about what was about to happen here, and Hatcher knew it as well. And that's why I encourage anybody who's watching your show, from our organization, we're asking people to vote for Andy Ogles. Again, he's endorsed by Trump. He fights the Democrats harder than virtually anyone in Washington. And we can't let California billionaires and Democrats come in and steal this seat from conservatives in Tennessee.
And by the way, it's not just Tennessee. I understand this organization's going after Congressman Chip Roy, also Marionette Miller Meeks out of Iowa, both of whom are regulars on this program, as well as Congressman Ogles.
Yeah, I would expect them. We saw what they did to Chip Roy. They spent a lot of money to take him out in the attorney general race out there. And I would expect these guys, we're talking about primaries here, but I would expect them all over the country to be spending tens of millions of dollars in the general election. The guy who's spending against Ogles, like I said, he spent $12 million for Kamala Harris, and he said that he's going to spend whatever it takes to elect Gavin Newsom president. So, again, you want to stick it to these guys, vote Ogles.
Yeah, well, that's the way to do it, and we've got to make sure we're sending rock-solid conservatives back to Capitol Hill. Patrick Parsons with the Freedom Caucus Fund joining us today on the show. Patrick, it's really tough if you are maybe a novice. You're spending more time at your kids' baseball games or getting your kids ready to go back to school, and you hear all these attack ads that are being and they're targeting Republicans. How do you maneuver through that, and what advice do you give these potential voters out there to figure out who are the honest brokers?
Well, I'm sure everybody out there is seeing ads all over Tennessee. You've got a governor's race, you have congressional races, you have state legislative races, and I know it can all be confusing, but that's why our organization, we're spending pretty heavily in favor of Ogles to reach those voters. Early voting is going on now. Election day is August 6th. I would just say, look at the records. I mean, if you're going to vote for somebody who is currently in Congress, look at their voting record, and then look at who is backing each guy. Look who's backing the other guy. It's California billionaires. Who's backing Ogles? It's Trump. But it's not just Trump. Ogles has a record, and he's proven. And that's what I would encourage people to do when they're going into the voting booth.
Look, I think that's wise advice. And whenever I see who's endorsing these candidates, that also gives you a little bit of some insight. For example, when you look at Charlie Hatcher, he's getting the endorsement of former Governor Bill Haslam, who was not necessarily a rhino, but certainly a more moderate Republican. So I think it's important for people to step back, do their homework, and make sure that you're casting your vote for the rock solid America First conservative. And Andy Ogles certainly fits that bill.
Yeah, I think so. And look, last primary election cycle, when Andy Ogles was facing a heavily funded challenger, it was the Nashville establishment Republican guys. They were holding fundraisers downtown in Belmead, everywhere else. And they said, we don't want Ogles. At the end of the day, Ogles to them is not a guy who will do whatever they want. And that is bring home the bacon. We've got too many of these people in Washington, D.C. already. We need more fighters. We need more people who are going to stand up from the Democrats, not just sit back in the corner and say, look, I'm a nice guy. No, the Democrats are not nice people. They are nasty people. They are communists. Trump's called them that. I've been calling them that for a long time. And Ogles is the guy in this district, in my opinion, who's the guy to stand up against them.
That's it. All right. Well, Patrick, we appreciate you coming on the program today and setting the record straight. And I know a lot of people are going to be out casting votes. There's early voting currently underway in Tennessee. So those of you that are in that 5th congressional district, you need to get out there and vote. And if you're going to vote for the rock solid conservative, Andy Ogles is your guy there. Patrick Parsons from the Freedom Caucus Fund. Patrick, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Todd. Have a good day.
All right, there you go. Lots of shenanigans. Meanwhile, in Michigan, I mean, I'm telling you, Michigan, it's going to be a battleground state there. The Democrats are loading up radical progressives, and it's so bad. It is so bad that there is a very good chance Michigan could swing into the Republican column again. That's how serious it is. But the situation in Tennessee is interesting. They turned the Memphis area into 3. So Memphis is now 3 congressional districts, and they're they're big districts. That Ogles race is one to watch because the Democrat is somebody who is very appealing. They're trying to portray him as a moderate, and that could be a very, very interesting race for the Republicans and the Democrats, which is why the idea that Republicans are taking Democrat money and targeting Andy Ogles, that is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. All right, we've got to take a break here, folks. 901-260-5926, our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. This is the Todd Starnes Show. Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's the Todd Stearns Radio Show. I have a question for you folks in Texas and also for you folks in North Carolina. What are we going to do with your two senators? You've got outgoing senators John Cornyn. He's getting the heave-ho. And Tom Tillis out of North Carolina, and he's not running for re-election again. But these two men are now intentionally stopping up President Trump's agenda in the Senate. And so last night we had a little bit of breaking news when the Senate decided to postpone the confirmation hearing for Todd Blanche, who is going to be the next Attorney General. And President Trump is just enraged over all of this. And the reason why they're having to postpone the hearing is because Tom Tillis and John Cornyn right now are no votes. They're going to stand up to the president of their own party. This is so disgusting and reprehensible what these guys are doing. They're basically spoiled brats is what they are. Men with very small man parts, if you will. Trump hurt my feelings. That's who these people are. These are supposed to be grown men, sitting United States senators, and they are willing to stop the entire agenda of this president to get their point across. So anyway, now President Trump is stepping in, and he's threatening to withdraw Blanche's nomination until both men are out of office next year, and then they'll be able to confirm Mr. Blanche as Attorney General. The president writing on True Social, Todd Blanche is a star, and everyone knows it. He has the potential to go down as one of the greatest attorney generals of all time. However, John Cornyn of Texas and Tom Tillis of North Carolina, both of whom I refuse to endorse and whose political careers have been ended by my action, are refusing to vote for this great nominee who will remain in any event as acting. So nothing's really going to change. I mean, Todd Blanche is still going to be running things. But this is John Cornyn and Tom Tillis sticking it to the man. We'll show him, that big meanie, that big meanie. Ridiculous. Anyway, Trump goes on. Remember, both Cornyn and Tillis voted for Merrick Garland. You see, this is what really ticks me off, is that these guys out there, they'll stick it to Donald Trump. But when it comes to the Democrats, they'll bend over and take it right up the wazoo and say, please again, sir. That's what they're doing. President Trump says, I have no objection to temporarily withdrawing Todd's name if they do not do the right thing and putting him back after Cornyn and Tillis are out of office. Well, good for you, Mr. President. I feel bad for Donald Trump. The poor guy, he's been through everything. They tried to kill the guy, 2-3 times? He's having to fight his own party tooth and nail on an agenda. By the way, an agenda that got him elected in a landslide, not Congress. Unbelievable. So I'm curious, what is the attitude? What are people saying about Tom Tillis in North Carolina? What are you folks in Texas? What are you saying about John Cornyn? They say he's all hat, no cattle. That's what they say. Anyway, John Cornyn is shrugging off all of this. Here's what he wrote on X. POTUS is mistaken if he believes concerns about the provisions in his tax lawsuit settlement are limited to me and Senator Tillis. What a whiny little... Oh, I can't say that word. My apologies, Parker. Thank you for catching me. I would have gotten put on the church prayer list again.
Great save.
Terrible. Tom Stearns is a potty mouth. Potty mouth. Sorry. I just got worked up. Anyway, Chuck Grassley, who's the, 120-year-old Senate Judiciary Chair, he actually looks good for his age. You know, he's still out there. He's working the farm. Saw him in a cornfield. No, he's not 120. I think he's 112. but he looks good for his age. Still goes down to the Dairy Queen with the missus. So he's... Anyway, Grassley said, yeah, we're going to have to pull the nomination right now. We're going to have to postpone it. And because without the support of Tillis and John Cornyn, they won't be able to make it to the Senate floor. That's the issue here. So that's it's just ridiculous. Do you see what President? Look, here's what gets me, and the president's still in a great mood. I mean, that's the great irony here is you or I, if we had to go through what they put this guy through, what his own party puts him through, we'd be fighting somebody. We'd be down at the Waffle House. It'd be on like Donkey Kong. I'm just telling you. 901-260-5926, our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. I was on Newsmax earlier this morning, and it's, I think, Parker, the whole point of this was for me to have less work, so being a contributor on Newsmax. But I think that I'm going to actually be busier now because I had to get up at the crack of dawn. I should have rethought this. Should have read the fine print in the contract. Anyway, I'm on Newsmax this morning, and they were asking me about, and I got a little bit of pushback because I said, look, when it came to the Fauci hearings, I said, look, I don't think it's going to amount to anything. I really don't. I don't think that we are going to see Fauci being held accountable. I mean, the man ought to be charged with crimes against humanity. I truly believe that. But I just don't think that's going to happen. Now, I may be mistaken, but I don't think so. I think what we saw yesterday was all performative. It was political theater. Everybody got their, ounce of flesh. But at the end of the day, this is disgusting. I mean, a grown man who was obsessed with his own celebrity. Just unbelievable. I mean, do you know of another grown man who does his own scrapbooking? Park, I mean, you were an athlete, you got the name in the newspapers. Do you have a scrapbook?
I do not.
No, of course not.
I have a couple framed pictures, but that's it.
But you're a grown man. There's no need to scrapbook. Exactly. You're not sitting in your room on your bed with Taylor Swift playing and you're like gluing pictures and articles and putting them, you don't do that. And no guy would. But anyway, Fauci does. We're not going to judge that. But I can just tell you that he was in love with himself and Jake Tapper. And you have to imagine, I mean, he had dozens and dozens of times that he and Jake Tapper were corresponding. They went out to dinner together. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you have to imagine Dr. Fauci, in his girlish bedroom, sitting there on the bed late at night doing the doodles, I heart Jake, Mr. and Mrs. Anthony Tapper. I mean, it's your mind can't help but wander in that direction. And then he goes out and he kills the beagle in the backyard. We'll be right back. Great to have you with us. Our telephone number, by the way, 901 260 5926. Again, that telephone number, 901 260 5926. Well, we have been so honored to have a new sponsor joining us, and there has been a lot of excitement around Movement Mortgage and the great work they are doing around the country. Their faith-based approach to the mortgage industry, which is something you don't hear a lot about these days. But we're just so excited to welcome back to the program from Movement Mortgage. And by the way, that website, movement.com/Starnes, that's movement.com/Starnes, is Harlan Akola. Harlan, good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you, Todd. You're doing good work.
Well, thank you, Harlan. We appreciate it, and I know we have so many of our listeners who are getting ready to, look at retirement, or maybe they're already on the cusp of retiring. And a lot of folks are just trying to figure things out. How do we have enough money? What do we do? What should we be doing? And you guys answer all of those questions at movement.com.
We love to do that because retirement it's almost like a first-time home buyer. We do a lot of first-time home buyers, but retirement is a bigger deal because you don't get any do-overs. You can screw up on the first time, but when you're in the retirement phase, there's no do-overs in retirement.
No, I think you're right. And that's, that is something that a lot of people are thinking about. And you want to make sure you get all of your ducks in a row before you retire. And I think looking at the idea of reverse mortgages is a big deal. And guys, if we could get that door closed over here on the studio, that would be great. Thank you. Harlan, let's talk about the top 4 reasons why people do not like reverse mortgages.
Well, it's interesting. I've been doing this for 20 years, and it all comes down to these 4 almost 99% of the time. And the first one is kind of the funniest one in a sense, because we're a lender. We lend money and collect interest. We're not a investor in properties. We don't own houses. In fact, if we end up owning a house, that means it's a mistake. But everybody says, oh, reverse mortgages, that's when the bank takes the house and now you don't own it anymore. It's simply not true. We simply put a lien on the property, just like a regular forward mortgage or line of credit or anything else, and say, hey, a portion of this, when you sell it, we have to be paid back like any other loan. And we never change ownership. If somebody's going to change ownership and offer to pay your taxes and insurance, they're taking over ownership of your house. We don't do that 100% of the time. The bank is never going to want to be in the ownership of your house. Yet people think that over and over and over. And that's the first thing I have to tell them. No, it's not that. Yeah. You own your house. Your kids own the house. Your wife owns the house after you pass. This is not something, we're not interested in owning your house. We're interested in lending you money.
And I think one of the other big misconceptions is this is only for poor people or people that are in need. That's another one.
Oh my goodness, that comes up. I've heard all kinds, but I don't need one of those. I'm fine. We're good yet. We're not broke. We still can buy food. And I have a reverse mortgage. I don't need one. I'm still working even. I'm not in retirement. I'm old enough to. But it's just amazing to me that that's been so put into people's psychology that they just believe that's the way it is, and you must be broke in order to get a reverse mortgage. And the truth is that yes, we want to help people. If there's somebody out there right now that's hurting and they're broke and they lost a spouse or they're in a divorce situation or whatever, they need money, we want to help them. There's nothing, I'm not shying away from that at all. But the vast majority of people we work with are doing preventive loans, and they're doing something to make sure that they don't run into trouble on the other side of the equation. And that is where they're planning for paying less in taxes. They're planning for making sure that they can help their kids. Just talked to a client this morning. He wants to help all 4 of his kids buy a house. He said, by the time I die, I'm 90, they're 60. They don't need my help then. And so it can be used for just additional income. It can be used for tax shielding. It can be even done, if you got a lot of money, it can be done for giving money away. There are so many different opportunities of how that can work out that people just aren't aware of.
Again, we're talking about the 4 top reasons why people don't like reverse mortgages. Another that we've heard, Harlan, is that the cost is just too high.
Yeah, people worry about the interest rate. Sometimes they're told that the interest rate is really high, which is not true. That the interest rate is market interest rate. It's pretty much like any other interest rate that for any mortgage, 6-7%, which is higher obviously than it was a number of years ago, but it's usually cheaper than a regular mortgage, cheaper than a home equity line. And so sometimes what they're referring to is the cost of getting into the loan, which requires some mortgage insurance. And there is additional cost for that. And so people do have to figure a higher amount of closing costs. But really, I always tell people, this is the most expensive loan. At the same time, it's the cheapest loan because you never make a payment until a year after you're dead. And that's really good timing. And so it's really the least expensive during your lifetime because you never have to make a mortgage payment until the end. And that is something that relieves people so much from their obligations that they have to, make those payments. And so it's such a huge help from there.
I think one of the other, top reasons is about, and you mentioned kids, their inheritance. And some people say, oh, no, I can't do the reverse mortgage. It's going to hurt the kid's inheritance. How do you respond to that?
Well, the first thing I tell them is, I love my kids and I have a reverse mortgage. We have 4 wonderful sons and 4 wonderful daughter-in-laws and 7 wonderful grandkids. And I tell them, why would I do that if I didn't care about my kids? And they say, I don't know, tell me why. Because the fact is that what the difference is that, yes, I will have less equity in my house to pass on to my children at the end, my adult children at the end. But I have more money that I can give them while they're alive because I'm not making mortgage payments. And at the same token, I will also, because I can give more to them while they're alive and because I'm not making mortgage payments, I can put more money into things like life insurance or Roth IRAs or whatever, and they can actually end up inheriting more, less equity, but more cash. Now, it is true, the longer I live, I may have less money to pass along. And so when people say, I want to give the maximum amount of money that I can to my kids, I said, is that your main goal? And they said, yes. And I said, then you got to die right away. The quicker you die, the more money your kids will get. And if your kids want you to die early so that they can get more money, you should probably find some new kids. So it is true that the cost of living uses up some money, and people that live a long time, especially if there's health issues, can end up in a situation where, quite frankly, there's less money left at the end. But after all, the kids aren't waiting around usually for an inheritance. What they're waiting around for is to spend more time with their parents. The grandkids to spend more time with their grandparents. That's way more valuable than something called money.
Harlan is the reverse mortgage director at Movement Mortgage, and the website, I'm going to give you a telephone number as well. I want you to write this down, folks. Movement.com/Starnes. That's movement.com/Starnes. The telephone number, 580-REVERSE. That's 580-REVERSE. Harlem also has a great book called Home Equity and Reverse Mortgages, The Cinderella of the Baby Boomer Retirement. So, Harlan, let's take people through this. They're going to call this number, 580-REVERSE. What's going to happen when they call that telephone number?
Well, the first thing that happens is we set up a short little meeting, usually it lasts 15 to 20 minutes, to let them know this is how it might work for them. We will not sell them anything. They cannot buy anything during that call. It's strictly informational, because people say, I don't think I want to reverse mortgage. I've heard things, I'm afraid of them. That's fine. This is not something that we are going to say you got to buy something, but you should find out about it and get some information and then be able to make the decision from there. When we're done talking about that, then we send them out the book. They go through the book and then they give us a call back and say, okay, let's go to the next level. Let's ask some more questions. I want to find out some more things from here. But the biggest thing is when you're going into that phase of life, what we call the fourth quarter of life, it is critical important to have all the information. And people say, well, I don't want to get roped into an appointment, a meeting with any of your loan officers. Our loan officers are highly trained on dealing with retirement issues. And even if you don't end up getting a reverse mortgage, you might learn something about Medicare or Medicaid or Social Security or IRMA or whatever that's going to impact your life for the better. We always share something with you completely for free just to be of help to you. And so that's what people should do, is not decide, yeah, I'm going to do it or not. That's not what the call is about. It's about, I need more information to find out how this affects myself and my family. And they always say, well, if it's something you don't know, what you don't know doesn't hurt you. When it comes to retirement, what you don't know can hurt you a lot, whether it's paying too much in taxes, whether it's paying too much for Medicare, or simply not having enough money, or your wife not having enough money when you pass away. These things are so critical for people to understand the value of knowledge when they're going into uncharted waters.
And again, folks, and the whole point is you're not going to be making a decision right now today when you call in. You're starting the information process, and that's you've got to do that initially, which is why I want you to write down this number, 580-REVERSE, 580-REVERSE, or go to movement.com/Starnes. And Harlan, they also need to get a copy of this great book.
Well, yeah, I want to share that with them because, there's so much misinformation out there. It's ridiculous. Reverse mortgages have been attacked more than any other retirement product as something that, shouldn't be used or should only be used for poor people. And this is something that's helped my family out. It's helped so many of my clients out. I just want to share that because I know there's so many people that will have better lives if they can just spend some time checking out a few things, because you can spend an hour watching a TV show or doing something that's not even that important, and it won't be as much help for the fourth quarter of life as this book and a consultation with one of our team members will be. So we're not gonna just this isn't a timeshare sale that we keep you in for 2 hours before you can hang up the phone. This is something that we have a lot of fun too. We look at enjoying this discussion, and there's a lot of laughter that happens during these Zoom calls.
I love that. I love that. All right, folks, give Harlan and his team a call. 580-REVERSE. That's 580-REVERSE. Go to movement.com/Starnes. Get yourself a copy of the book, Home Equity and Reverse Mortgages. Harlan, we look forward to talking to you soon, my friend.
Well, I answered all of your questions. Notice I never pled the fifth on one of the questions that you asked me.
Look, here's my concern. This was a legitimate concern because you know me, Harlan. I'm a very caring person. I was concerned that many of those lawmakers might have been using that phrase as their drinking game phrase. And if that's the case, the Uber drivers in D.C. were very busy yesterday.
No question about that.
And you need to take the fifth in that reply.
Exactly correct.
All right, Harlan, we'll be talking to you next week, and thanks again for the great work you guys do at Movement.
Thank you, Todd. Appreciate you.
All
Talk
right,
to you soon.
man. I love these guys because I'm like, I don't know, 10 years away from retire. Maybe I will retire. I don't know. I was thinking about like 70, 75. Is that a good retirement plan? I don't know. But anyway, you start thinking about those things. And that's why I love Harlan and Movement Mortgage, because they help you through that process. So it doesn't have to be sort of unsettling. It is a little unsettling, right? Because you want to make sure you've got all of your ducks in a row, all of your is it the eggs in one basket? No, you don't want your eggs in one basket. That's bad. Anyway, all that to say, they're going to help you with your eggs and all the other produce as well. Movement.com/Starnes. That's movement.com/Starnes. And they're gonna help you out. 580-REVERSE is the telephone number there. That is interesting. What is a good retirement age? When are you deciding, you know what? I'm going to stop working. Parker, have you ever thought about that? I mean, you're a young guy. You're just starting out.
Yeah, I'll be 22 next week. So that hasn't really crossed my mind yet, but
yeah,
it depends what you're doing, I think.
I mean, I guess if you like what you do, why would you stop doing it?
Exactly. If you got the opportunity to keep doing it, do it as long as you can and you're healthy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I'm 70 or 75, that actually is a ways away. But if I'm that old and I'm a fuddy-duddy on the radio, yeah, somebody's got to tell me, Starnes, you got to pack it in. You're putting people to sleep. Or if every other word, Parker, out of my mouth is get off my lawn, that's problematic as well.
As long as you can do it at a high level, keep doing it.
Right, exactly. I was watching. You'll have to help me out with the name of this movie. Is it Moneyball?
Yes.
Oh
Great
my!
movie.
I have no idea why that just popped up yesterday, and I thought, you know, it has been a long time since it's a Brad Pitt.
Yes.
Brad
Pitt baseball movie.
And who's the fat guy? The co-star.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He looks like an NBA reporter. And I thought it was him the whole time. The first time I saw it, he looks like NBA reporter Brian Windhorst.
No, that's not who it is.
But it's actually Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, thank you. Well, you know, Jonah Hill, he's like super fat, then he gets super skinny, then he's super fat again, and you can't keep up. So anyway, I'm watching this, and they were talking about. Anyway, there was something that I was going to tie into all of this, but anyway, it's about retirement. You play the game as long as you can, and then you just can't. I mean, that's just life. So
it's a great way to look at it.
It is a terrific way to look at it. But I am curious, and any of you folks out there that have already taken the plunge and you've retired, what factored into all of that? 901-260-5926, our number. That's 901-260-5926. This is the Todd Stern Show.
From the front line.
All of you Christian people out there. And here goes. So I just got word that the Memphis Islamic Center is hosting a big Democrat candidate forum. So the Muslims in the Memphis area, and we have a growing Muslim population, much like you folks in Texas, they're hosting a big forum for all the Democrats. All of the city's black mega churches in Memphis are holding political rallies for Democrat candidates. All of the city's white progressive churches are holding rallies for Democrat candidates. And meanwhile, the white evangelical churches are not doing anything.
Well, we don't like to talk about politics in our precious little congregation. That's just beneath us. We just don't do that. WWJD. We just don't talk about politics.
And they don't. They really don't. It's shocking to me. And so people are always surprised. Someone pointed out, I think Republican voter turnout is like down 14%. And the reason why is because, and I'm just telling you, most people are getting their political news and guidance from the church house. So here's my question. Why is it that these white evangelical churches, and it's not just Memphis, but across America, why is it the white evangelical churches have disengaged? I mean, the Pentecostals are certainly getting engaged, but not the white evangelicals. I'm talking about my own denomination, for example, the Southern Baptist Convention. Why are you guys sitting out this one? Got to take a break. We'll be right back.
The Liberty University studio in Memphis, Tennessee. It's America's conservative blowtorch.
That's us. That's right. I love this American ride.
Todd Starnes.
Well, hello, everybody. Hour 3 of the big show. Good to have you with us today, and thank you for joining us. Our telephone number, 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. And a question, I want to continue this conversation that we had in the last few minutes of the last hour of the program, as we are watching early voting happen across the nation. And a couple of observations here. First of all, we are looking at all of the black progressive churches around America, whether they be small churches or mega churches, engage in the political process. These churches across the nation are hosting political forums. They're hearing from the candidates and, quite frankly, holding campaign rallies at their churches. Now you've got the Muslims involved and engaged. I told you in the last hour about the Islamic Center of Memphis, Tennessee. They are hosting candidate forums for the Democrats, as well as all the black progressive churches. So all Democrat, all focused on Democrat candidates. A lot of the white progressive churches are also engaged in the political process. And yet, on the other side of the aisle, when you look at mostly white non-denominational churches and white evangelical churches, and especially within the Southern Baptist Convention, you are not finding hardly any engagement. I will say most, not all. I want to offer that caveat. But I got to tell you, you would be hard-pressed to find many churches around the nation that are engaged in the political process. Now, here's where I draw the line. I don't think churches ought to be endorsing candidates. I don't think that's the job of the church or the role of the church. But I do think it's the responsibility of the church to explain to Christians and to the congregation what their values are and why we should be voting our values. I think the churches ought to be providing information about the candidates and their positions on issues that impact the church. So for us just to completely, and when I say us, I'm a Southern Baptist, and for us to completely disengage from the political process, I'm curious, why do you think that is? Why do you think white evangelical churches have disengaged from the political process, and how do we get re-engaged? And we're certainly seeing that play out among young people in America who are going back to church and are trying to figure out things with their lives. They're trying to understand their value system. I want to bring into the conversation Bethany Miller from National Religious Broadcasters, the Director of Communications, and also the Managing Editor of really an awesome and cool magazine, The Conservateur. Bethany, good to have you back with us.
Thanks to have me, Todd. Great to be here.
All right, well, let's talk about this. I mean, have you noticed, it's sort of a bee in my bonnet, if you will, Bethany, that churches are just shying away from politics, and I think that churches ought to be involved in politics because we're called to be salt and light. Am I off base here?
You are not, and I'm speaking to you as a fellow SBCer as well, and I'm seeing it in my own amongst the Bible Belt. I'm tuning in live from Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm getting that exact same thing. We are the belt buckle of the South, and you'd think right here in the Bible Belt that's where it should be happening, but it's stemmed from the seeker-friendly movement. Pastors are no longer the fiery Black Road regiment that this country used to have that spoke to the issues of the day and steward those things well, and so there's no longer a pulpit freedom, and I would say to you, it started all back with Lyndon B. Johnson and that Johnson Amendment.
No doubt about it, and again, it's been a big problem, and I've noticed over the past, I guess, 10 or 15 years, we've had so many millennial pastors coming out of seminaries, and it's almost as if they've taken, the exact opposite approach of, the Jerry Falwells and Pat Robertsons of the day, the moral majority movements of the time, and they say, oh, we can't do that. It's almost as if that's not the business of the church, and it's almost like politics is a dirty word. Well, you know what, Bethany, when you take Christians out of the political process, you get what we've got.
You do, and that is a product. The millennials, as well as Gen Z, is a product of moral relativism. When truth became subjective and it wasn't objective anymore, and all of a sudden it was speak your truth, and that was what informed our churches, and our pastors have become soft. And it is not, Gen Z is waking up to this. They don't want, and that's why you're seeing a lot of them go to Catholic and Orthodox churches. They don't want smoke and mirrors anymore. They don't want a show and entertainment. They want the cold hard truth, and they want the full counsel of God. So I do think that there's encouragement there, but we've got something to do about it.
You see, I'm glad you brought that up because, people are saying, oh, the young people are going back to church, but they're not going back to, for example, the Southern Baptist Church. I don't see as many young couples, and I do see them going, as you pointed out, to those Orthodox churches. And I can tell you, I've talked to some folks that are involved in Orthodox churches, and they say the pews are filling up on Sundays with mostly young people. Why do you think that is? Why are kids going to more established churches?
And I can speak to this personally as well. I am part of an SBC church. But I'm part of a reformed SBC church where it prioritizes liturgy, the Apostles' Creed, and preaching doctrine and theology. And I really do think that Gen Zers don't want a TED Talk on Sunday anymore. They don't want something watered down that's going to make you feel good anymore, because I think they've had that. They've had that post-COVID. They've had the lack of connection. They've had this mental health crisis, and they're looking for something real. And you're getting that in the Catholic and the Orthodox Church because they never swayed away from doctrine and theology, whereas mainline denominations have.
I'll say this about our friends in the Catholic Church. I appreciate their education system, the way they teach their parishioners about the people in the Catholic Church who made an impact, made a difference. If you go to a Southern Baptist church, and I sound like I'm going to get in so much trouble with the Women's Missionary Union at my church. Why are you talking bad about the Southern Baptist? But I'm really not. But if you go to a Southern Baptist church and you go to a Southern Baptist Sunday school, they're not teaching you about those great Southern Baptist leaders of years ago, or the Southern Baptists, or the Baptists rather, who played a role in the Revolutionary War, or made an impact in this area or that area. And you don't have the history and the tradition, and you've got to be able to have that and pass that along to the next generation.
You really do. It is a legacy, and it is something you pass down. And unfortunately, our millennials did not pass down something that was worth keeping. We passed down, and even Gen X passed down the seeker movement. And I think Gen Z is waking up to the fact, and I'm hoping this drives them to the polls, that it is something we are stewarding for the next generation. And we're losing that in the mainline denomination. So it's time to wake up to that and to move forward, that we do have something we need to preserve.
So we've talked about everything the churches are doing that's wrong. What are they doing that's right? Because there aren't some churches out there that are doing the right thing.
They are. And like I said, there are pockets of the SBC. There are pockets of the PCA that are doing just that thing. They are staying true to the word. They're staying true to the full counsel of God. They are not shying away from politics because they understand that politics is one other thing to steward. In addition to family finances, politics is just one other thing where there's a biblical worldview. At NRB, we work with a lot of different members who are in that place, whether it's in South Florida or if it's in the West Coast. There are churches that are faithful. And so I'm grateful for that. And they are helping us with that religious turnout in the polls. This midterms, they helped us greatly with 24. So there's encouragement there. But I think that when it comes to Gen Z, we are seeing in the data that there is an interest. There's just not as much the discipleship that is coming. So I think it's in the works. And I think that starts with mentorship. It starts with the Titus 2 approach.
We've got a lot of things happening digitally now. I know a lot of churches have started digital ministries, a lot of Christian podcasters, and I would, if you want to call them influencers, are really engaging, and it seems like it's sort of like the wild west right now, as we all sort of get our bearings on this digital and AI culture that seems to be clashing right now.
Yes, very much so. And it seems like every day, every Gen Zer wants to be an influencer. They wake up and they say, I'm going to start a YouTube. I'm going to start an Instagram. And even YouTube is starting to not be the thing anymore. It's Instagram and TikTok, and Gen Z just wants to influence the culture. There is a little bit of a clash there. And I think Gen Z is wary of that. But one thing that I always want to encourage Gen Z is, if you want to influence culture, if you want to be an influencer, then be a part of a church. Steward that well and get to the polls and vote. That is how you influence the next generation.
It's terrific advice. Are you seeing trends? You mentioned folks kind of shying away from YouTube a little bit. Are there any communication trends that we need to be paying attention to right now?
Not many on the YouTube side. I would just say that there has been an influx in interest in Instagram and TikTok. Those are the two platforms that we're seeing that is prioritized. You'll even see in the Trump administration, they're just now launching all of their accounts onto TikTok as well. So there's a lot of higher interest when it comes to video format on the TikTok side than YouTube.
I can't figure it out, Beth. I really can't. And by the way, we've got Bethany Miller with us from National Religious Broadcasters. I don't know if I should wear a tie on TikTok or if I should go casual. Should I wear overalls? I don't know what to do, Bethany.
Do it all, Todd. They love it. They love the authenticity. They want you to do a day in the life. They want you to do this is what I packed for lunch today. And so Gen Z is most unserious,
Really?
most silliest generation. But I encourage you, Todd, give it a whirl.
Oh my gosh! All right, I don't know. I'm nervous now, Bethany. You kind of put me on the spot. You know what? I may try to do this. My team has been, they're all Gen Zers, and they're like, Todd, you got to loosen up. You got to do something cool and hip. And I'm trying to figure out what exactly is cool and hip for Todd Stearns. You don't have to answer that
Todd,
question.
I think I should, though. I think we'd like to see you on TikTok. So that'll be cool and hip in and of itself.
All right, I'll try it. You could have pulled a Fauci and pled the fifth on that one, but it's all good. We've got Bethany Miller with us, managing editor at the Conservator. I'm intrigued by this I love magazines, and I love what y'all are doing over there. What are some of the cultural and political conversations you guys are having?
So we were just recently did a piece on the rise in Catholicism amongst Gen Z and then the return to tradition there. We're doing some more pieces up in the works talking about midterms. And, the biggest topic for us is how do we get the young women to vote red? I mean, that is such a difficult area. And that's one that I actually don't see much of the conservative movement talk about particularly. We talk about Gen Z a lot, but we've got a liberal young female problem, and that is kind of what we're narrowing in on and focusing on. How do we bring those women in? And sure, we offer these conservative values. We see, as red women, we see the benefit of it, but how do you encourage that to the left? And so that's kind of what we're zeroed in on at the Conservator right now.
All right, Bethany, we're going to have to take a quick break here, so we're going to have to ramp it up. But again, follow Bethany Miller, Bethany M. Miller, on Instagram and X, nrb.org. Be sure to check out the website. All sorts of great content there. Bethany, we look forward to getting you back very soon. And all right, I'm going to work on the TikTok. So the next time you come back on, you're going to have to critique my very first official TikTok.
And I absolutely will. I hold you to it, Todd. See you then.
All right, Bethany Miller. I'm nervous. I wasn't expecting that. I'm not even sure, Parker, what should I do? Where's Ian? Tell Ian to hop into the studio. He's been all over he kind of pulls things from the show and puts them on the TikTok. But for me to actually sit down and do an actual TikTok, Parker, I'm not sure. I wouldn't even know what to do. I mean,
I think you could I like the short form content. You can almost take your commentaries and almost make them into straight TikToks.
But is that really what people want, though? Or, I mean, do they want, like me, in, like, overalls, riding around in a pickup truck? I would have to go buy a pickup truck or do what James Tallarico did, Low T Tallarico. He rented his authentic pickup truck.
Yeah, I think you could get the goofy side of Todd Starnes in there.
I don't think the pickup truck is saving him at this point. I don't think he's fooling anyone with that.
With Tallarico? Yeah. Okay, yeah, God, yeah. No, that's good. So I'm just trying to figure out, we should probably open up the phone lines to this as well, guys. What should Todd's very first, like, cool, hip TikTok video be?
That's a good question. A lot of content, especially short form content, is just reacting to other clips of opinions you disagree with.
Really?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be like, because, a lot of people are cooking, so they don't want to see me, like, cooking, showing people how to cook something. Or is that more Instagram?
It's both Instagram and TikTok, but I'm not sure if that really fits with the brand unless we're opening up the Starnes cooking.
You know what I think?
The new Starnes cookbook.
Oh, I could.
I want to see a Todd Starnes day in the life on TikTok.
A day in the life. Oh.
That could be some great content.
Really? So
a little behind the scenes on TV, radio.
Like brushing my teeth or
Sure.
No, that didn't sound very convincing.
Not what was going through my head, but it could work.
Okay, like a day in the life, like going to the store.
Yeah.
All right. We do have to take a break. All right, we're going to open up this up to the audience. What would you guys like to see? Like a day in the life? Would you like to see me cook something or shoot something? I could do that. We could go down to the gun range. Or we could go to Top Golf.
Top Golf.
Yeah, I like that. All right, 901-260-5926. That's 260-5926. This is the Todd Stern Show.
You're with Todd Starnes.
We're halfway through the year, but there's still plenty of time to change how you feel by the end of it. Right now in July, maybe you're feeling frustrated. It's hot, your clothes fit tighter than you'd like, and you're tired of avoiding pictures or saying, you know what, I'll start the diet next week. But imagine this, just 1 month from now in August, you could already be sleeping better, feeling more energy during the day, and noticing that your clothes are fitting a little looser. By September, you may be looking in the mirror and seeing real changes, losing inches and pounds, going down on the scale. By October and November, those small changes can really start adding up. Instead of dreading the holidays, you could be walking into family gatherings feeling good and ready to be in those family pics. And I know because I've been there, and you can do this, just like so many of our listeners.
During our halfway there sale, you can get 6 months of Caltrans for half price with our buy 3, get 3 free offer. Plus, we have payment plans to fit every budget. Visit toploft.com or call 833-TOP-LOFT to get started. That's toploft.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies and fiber and spice supplements. Our ingredients are 16 whole fruits, 15 whole vegetables, 4 powerful fibers, and 12 aromatic spices. It's one irresistible combo.
Oh, I have a friend, Julia, who has taken a Balance of Nature now for quite some time, and she said, oh, Becky, ask your doctor about taking Balance of Nature. So I talked to my doctor about it, and she said, oh, try it.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't wait. Now's the time to take action. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code TODD.
You said you'd never buy your kid candy from the checkout aisle. Or forget extra diapers. And never give in to a meltdown. You'd never lick your thumb to clean their face. Never let them have too much screen time. And never bribe them for just one more bite. You say you'd never let them out in public without their hair brushed. Never, ever become a minivan mom. And you'd never give them your phone for a quiet dinner.
Calling boss work phone.
So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, no, it can happen. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk in temperatures as low as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
That's what we were taught, service before self.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Smokey the Bear.
Then you know why Smokey tells you when he sees you passing through. Remember, please be careful, it's the least that you can do.
What you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at smokeybear.com. And remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So we're trying to figure out the Todd Stern's TikTok account and what my first, weird, political podcast, or what do they call them? TikTok cast? What do you call them? A TikTok?
TikToks?
What my TikTok should be. All right, let's go to David in Gainesville, Georgia, WDU. And David, do you have a suggestion for me?
Todd, most people need to use their expertise, so I think you should be a food judge. You know, in the South here, we love barbecue and banana pudding and sweet tea, and I think you're a connoisseur of those, so you could be a food judge. We have a local actual judge here in Gainesville who has started posting ratings of food, and his followership has gone up.
Wow, that's a great idea. Now, let me ask you, speaking of that, do you guys have Milo's sweet tea there in Gainesville, Georgia?
We do.
So I went to the store. I'm a big Milo's fan, but I'm also at home. I'll brew my own tea, and I usually brew Louisiane, which is the only tea that you should be brewing with is Louisiane. But anyway, I didn't realize that Louisiane was basically in the Milo's business, and so I accidentally grabbed a jug of their tea. Not very good. Not very good at all. So to your point, I could do like a TikTok judging the jugs of sweet tea that are available out there.
That's right. You know, the Beacon Drive-In in Spartanburg, South Carolina used to sell tea around to different places. They claim to have the best tea. So, you know, that's another thing. You could judge sweet tea.
I love this idea. By the way, I've been to the Beacon, and man, what a great place. And they keep the local cardiologist there in Spartanburg in business.
If you've had a chili cheese aplenty, you've probably had a visit to the cardiologist.
Yeah. that could have caused my 90% blockage. The what did you call it? The all aplenty?
Chili cheese aplenty is a hamburger with chili, and then of course you know the aplenty is French fries and onion rings.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the aplenty is a lot. I'll just tell you that much. No doubt about that. David, this is a great idea. All right, I'm gonna write this one down. I like this idea. David thinks that I ought to be going around judging things like sweet tea, for example, or banana pudding. And I think I can be a pretty good judge of banana pudding as well. 901-260-5926, our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. Congressman John Rose came to town yesterday for a campaign event. This is a true story. Congressman John Rose came to town last night for a campaign event, said, Todd, I need to know where to eat. And I told him, I said, Central Barbecue, Congressman. And he took the wife, the whole team there, and man, they had a great meal. He was ready for a nap by the time he got out of that place. So all that to say, you're welcome, Congressman. All right, we've got to take a quick break here. 901-260-5926 is our number. That's 901-260-5926. We'll be taking your suggestions on my very first TikTok. We'll be right back. So great to have you with us. Our telephone number 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. Well, I want to go right away to the Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line. Always an honor to have our good friend Kyle Campbell joining us, the host of the hugely popular Politically Basic podcast. Kyle, hope you're doing well today.
Hey, Todd, it's been a good summer. So, yes, doing well.
Well, I love to hear that. I tell you, I'm looking forward. I don't mind the summer heat that much, but it's been pretty oppressive in the southern states. We get the double whammy of heat and humidity. So I'm looking forward to fall very soon, very soon. So
I believe you. Yeah, we don't get that too much. It's funny. We get a lot of humidity out here because we're by the ocean. Wah, poor us. But it still feels pretty nice, and we're not having that May, gray, June gloom this year. So praise the Lord for that.
Oh, well, I'm glad, thank you. I'm glad to hear this because I'll be coming out there, August the 9th. I'll be speaking at all three services at Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. So we're looking forward to seeing a lot of our great listeners out in Southern California. Also, we're going to have special copies of the book, The Golden Age, How Trump Saved America, and you'll be able to purchase a copy of the book at the church. We're going to be doing a signing, and you'll hear a message from me. It's going to be a lot of fun. Kyle, is that anywhere near where you are in Southern California?
California is huge. It's 800 miles top to bottom. So it's a few hours away. But you know what, Todd, for you and a book signing, I would happily make that drive through gorgeous Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, and then a little bit later on, we're going to be in the northern part of Los Angeles County. Our good friend, Dr. Paul Chappell, a mutual friend of ours, I'll be speaking at the Spiritual Leadership Conference. So it's going to be good to get back to Southern California. Kyle, I actually love California. It's the people there are amazing. The scenery is just off the charts beautiful, and the food and the culture. It's really a great state, and I really hate to see so many people moving out because we've got to save California.
We sure do. And it's now or never, Todd. Listen, this is a great state. You said it. We feed the country. We make the movies. We produce the wine. Don't drink that plump jack nonsense that Gavin Newsom and his family are cranking out. Maybe they're not anymore. But it is a fabulous state that gets a bad rap because there's so much going wrong here. So you're absolutely right. We need fresh blood. We need new leadership. We're very hopeful. Our good friend Steve Hilton is going to be victorious in November, and we get her back on the tracks again. Not the train to nowhere, actual train tracks.
A couple of stories, Kyle, that we've been following, and I wanted you to weigh in on. First, I want us to listen to some audio. These two young teenage girls, they were at a WNBA game, and they were verbally attacked by fans as well as the co-owner of the Storm. And I want you to listen to these young ladies as they were talking about what happened to them. I believe it's cut 27, please.
Super respectful. We were just holding our signs and cheering for both teams. And this older lady comes up to us, and at first I think she's going to be nice, and then she asks, like, what are you guys doing? Something like that. And then it was like, Jesus loves everyone. That's what she told us. And I was like, oh, I know. Like, I'm religious. Like, I know. Like, I know. Nice. Yeah. And she's like, oh, I hope Jesus can forgive you for what sin you've done. And like, something like that. And then she told us that we were effing insane.
And she's like, and she went like, insane.
Yeah.
She's like, you better stop this.
And stop. Yeah.
And
for you guys
I
to
hope
come
God
here
can
and
save
pull
you.
this. Yeah.
She said, for you to come here and pull this.
Yeah.
She said the word?
Yeah.
Did she say effing insane or?
No, she said the word.
And nobody around you spoke up for you.
No.
So, I will say, Annalie, when I came over, you were in tears.
Yeah, I've never been yelled at like that. I mean, I've had people hate on me on the internet, but like it doesn't really affect me as much because it's just people online.
This is an insane story, and now we understand the co-owner of the Seattle Storm. Her name is Celeste Keaton. She's been fined and suspended from attending the team's next 5 home games. These girls are big fans of Sophie Cunningham, and Sophie Cunningham has been very supportive of getting guys out of women's sports. Kyle, what say you?
Well, I'm sure glad that she was sanctioned and that she had some consequence. This is horrifying. And this woman sounds like what she was saying to these young girls is very kind of religious, Karen-like of her and not a great representation of the faith of any kind, really. But this trend that's happening, especially in the WNBA, Todd, is so disturbing. We first watched Caitlin Clark. I mean, she's just getting absolutely beat up and abused on the court, and nothing's happening. And Sophie Cunningham comes to her aid, right? And she's just absolutely skyrocketed as a star. She's so fun to watch, these girls. It's not just their talent, they're just it's fun, I think, for young girls to watch them thrive in an environment that's a challenge for them. And so I really put a lot at the feet of the WNBA as an organization when they are not protecting these women. And then again, this whole conversation about keeping girls sports for girls only. It's mind blowing why, as a culture, as a country, we are having a hard time protecting girls and protecting women when we are on the heels of this massive wave of a feminist movement. And the future is female, but I guess not if you're a white girl trying to get into essentially a sport that is dominated by men, but also dominated by a different race than you. And so the last thing they need now is to have their gender and their biology attacked. So I would like to see the WNBA step up, give these girls some protection, and do better for them. But I'm glad this team co-owner got put in her place. It's completely unacceptable.
I want to move on to politics, Kyle, and this story caught my attention out of CNN. And polls are a dime a dozen. I get it, but I'm always intrigued by this. They're saying that there's been a massive youth revolt against President Trump, sending his polling among younger Americans underneath the ocean floor. That's how Harry Enton, who is the chief data analyst over at CNN, described it. And he's warning of a dramatic collapse in support among younger Americans. Now, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but what I can tell you, Kyle, is that the young Trump supporters we talk to are very upset about this war in Iran. They feel like they've been betrayed, that the America First movement is not moving forward fast enough. I'm wondering what your take is on all of this.
Well, I actually really like Harry Enton over at CNN. He's a blast to watch. He's got great energy, and he's usually blowing the minds of Democrats when he's showing these statistics about how well Donald Trump is doing. This one was surprising, not in the sense that Donald Trump's numbers with the younger voters are low, but that they were that low. I mean, they really have bottomed out, again, to your point, if those are correct. I do think it's to do with this war in Iran, but it's also a lot of other promises that have not been kept, right? The economy is still struggling. Some of that has to do with this conflict that they just can't wrap up over in the Middle East. And the rise of these Democrat socialists that are promising the moon, and you're going to get free healthcare, and you're going to get free childcare, and your pay is going up, and this and that, and everything for free. That is very attractive, especially to newer voters who have not gotten into their career. So, I'm actually not surprised by this one.
Yeah.
Oh, Todd, yeah. Sorry, I couldn't hear you there for a second. But yeah, this is not a surprise, but the numbers being so low are a shock.
Yeah. No, it's surprising. I'm especially if they're that low. I would not be surprised if, in fact, they are low. But still, it is a troubling thing. And again, I think the administration needs to pay close attention here, because we need everybody. I don't think these kids are going to be voting Democrat. They may just stay home, and they may not vote. And I think that would be very tragic, especially when it comes to the midterm elections.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what the other part of that poll that Harry Enton was showing was Democrat enthusiasm for these kids coming out and voting. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe they are going to stay home, but better than voting for those socialist candidates. That's what I say.
Kyle, before we let you go, we have a special treat for you. You know, Dr. Fauci was just up on Capitol Hill testifying yesterday, invoking the fifth. And this is a blast from the past. This kid, we think he's 18 or 19. It's hard to say. But anyway, this is a gift from me to you, Kyle Campbell. Take it away.
Do 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 Dr. Fauci, give us vaccines. Help all the people who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks and we'll have to stay distant. We'll wash our hands and we'll be more resistant. Fauci, yes? Promise us, please. We'll have a cure that can fight off this disease. Restrictions will lift with some ease. Dr. Fauci, don't forget me.
Oh, Kyle. Parker, you were kind of jamming there. Is that your new ringtone, Parker?
Definitely not. It needs to, that audio file needs to get like burned. Something.
Yeah. You're a great gift giver, Todd Starnes.
Kyle, from me to you.
That was no gift.
It was either that or an Anthony Fauci action figure. So
Yeah. Yeah, you pull the string in the back and he says, I plead the fifth on advice of my attorney.
Oh, that's good. Oh, I love that. That's good. All right. Politically Basic Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to follow Kyle on all of her social media platforms, being Kyle Campbell on Instagram, Politically Basic as well. All right, Kyle, good to hear from you.
Thank you, sir. Always good to be with you.
All right. Well, there you go. All right, we've got to take a quick break here. We had a couple of callers. One lady called Brenda called in and said she was, I guess, in traffic, and it's hard, to multitask when you're in traffic. But what did she recommend? She suggested chicken salad.
Yeah.
Oh, she was suggesting I could give my chicken salad recipe, which, by the way, is a pretty darn good recipe actually. But I make the best country fried steak and gravy in America from scratch. And
Now,
maybe
that sounds
that's
really good.
Maybe that's what I ought to do. I don't know. It's okay. So we're taking your calls here. We're trying to come up with the first Todd Starnes non-political TikTok. What is it that you guys want me to do? 901-260-5926, our number. That's 901-260-5926. We'll be right back.
He's not bitter. He's blessed.
Got to give a big shout out here to our friends at Pop's Comfort Kitchen. That's in Bartlett, Tennessee, and was over there yesterday. And I must have run into I guess 10 people that listen to the radio show. So we're just so honored to know that so many folks over at Pop's Comfort Kitchen are listening to the program, and they're basically a local family-owned mom-and-pop version of Cracker Barrel. So anyway, wonderful, wonderful Christian people, and the food is insanely good at Pop's Comfort Kitchen there. All right. This is interesting. So I want to go back to James Tallarico out of Texas. Low T Tallarico. The guy is suffering from a testosterone deficiency. And it's really tough. I mean, you put him on the church prayer list, folks. But anyway, this guy, Tallarico, back several years ago, he got an Anthony Fauci doll for Christmas. And it was an actual gift. It wasn't like one of these like elephant gifts, because we actually have that action figure here in the building that we gave as an elephant gift, as one of the worst gifts you could possibly give somebody. But anyway, it's the Anthony Fauci doll, and Tallarico got it on Christmas Day in 2021. He wrote on social media, "I got the coolest action figure for Christmas. Thank you to all the healthcare superheroes working today. Let's help by getting vaxxed and boosted." Oh, we've got it. So Parker, right? People think, no, there's no way Stern says that.
No, it's a real action figure. It's in my hands.
Does
right now.
Does it do anything?
I really like Kyle's idea of like the string in the back that says "I plead the fifth."
I plead the fifth. Yeah,
that's great.
I like that. Does it actually? I mean, is it just like a cheap action figure? It doesn't do anything. Does it say anything?
It's pretty cheap. You can move its arms. He's wearing a really ugly big mask, but that's about it.
Oh, geez, hello. Yeah, they're going to come up with a Tallarico doll. The only thing that, well, I was going to suggest that it bends over, but low T, man. So anyway, everybody's giving the guy a hard time about this now. And yes, you should. A grown man should not be excited to get an Anthony Fauci doll. But anyway, it turns out that Tallarico also rented the pickup truck. You know, he's been having a problem just showing people that he's a man. And, originally he said that he was vegan. And then that didn't go well with the voters in Texas. So you guys, look, even the vegans eat brisket in Texas. All right. It's the way it is. So anyway, Tallarico decided he was going to go out and he was going to show people, I'm a real Texas man. I want a pickup truck. And so the guy was driving around in a pickup, and everybody thought, oh, wow, we were wrong about Tallarico because he drives a pickup truck and now he's eating meat. Well, it turns out, according to a local journalist, oh, no, this is from The Economist, that he has now rented a pickup truck for his campaign video to appear more Texan. So now James Tallarico is cosplaying as a Texan. That's really kind of embarrassing, right? Anyway, Dave Weigel is the writer, and he reported odd detail in the new Tallarico ad. He drives a Chevy Colorado. Is it a Chevy Colorado? Is that the? I haven't heard of that. He may have mistaken. I don't know. Anyway, Dave Weigel says, odd detail in new Tallarico ad. He drives a Chevy Colorado, which has appeared in other ads and in profiles. But here he's driving a Dodge Ram 1500, and it's not hard to spot. You can see the plate, which is linked to an Enterprise rental. Wow. Interesting. That's unfortunate. But there you have it. James Tallarico, he's just weird. And I'm not sure that people are going to vote for weird. I don't see that. So anyway, we'll get into more of that. We have some more Tallarico news we'll get into tomorrow on the program, which, by the way, tomorrow, Open Line Friday. So any question, get your questions ready now. We're going to be taking your calls on tomorrow's show for Open Line Friday. Also, a reminder to get your pre-ordered copy of my new book. It's called The Golden Age, How Trump Saved America, in bookstores officially on August the 11th. There are 2 opportunities for you to get an advance copy. That's showing up at our big book launch on Friday, or Tuesday, rather. And then we'll be in California, Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills, coming up on August the 9th. Folks, it's been a great day, a busy day. ToddStearns.com. Download our podcast. All that other great information you'll find there as well. Get out there and be good, America.